Right, for this tutorial we're going to look at changing the subject. So I'm just going to do quite a few examples so you can get used to the process. The first one, I'm taking it from the practice questions on the other tab. The first one I'm going to look at is this. E equals a half mv squared, change the subject to v. So I've got E equals a half mv squared, and we're trying to change the subject to v here. Alright, so when I'm changing the subject, I'm looking at where v is right now. In the last line, I want it to look like v equals, and then we've got stuff. Right now, v is on the right-hand side, which is not what I want. It's not on the denominator or anything of a fraction. So actually, the first thing I'm going to do is just do a quick common sense line, switch it over to the left-hand side, which is where I want it to be in the end. So I'm going to take everything from the side of the equal sign, switch it over there, and put the e on the other side. So just a half mv squared equals e. So I've just written it the other way around. So I'm trying to get it to v. So one by one, I'm going to start removing things that are attached to it. I'm going to look at whatever is the furthest away first, sort of anything that I can remove first. The squared is attached to it. That's the last thing I'm going to be able to deal with. You won't be able to deal with that yet. Right, I've got this half, so I'm going to do that first. I want to get rid of that half. So to change that half to 1, to get rid of it, I'm going to multiply by 2 on both sides. So if I multiply this by 2, that just goes to 1. I've just got mv squared on this side equals 2e. This m now, I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to, right here, it's divide by m. So I'm going to divide by m on this side, divide by m on that side. As you can see, these two are gone. And then this is what the right-hand side is going to look like. So we've got v squared equals 2e over m. Last thing we want to do to get rid of this squared, we're going to have to square root each side. So square root that, it just goes to v equals the square root of 2e over m. And we've changed the subject to v. So changing the subject, it's just a lot of practice, just understanding which things you can do in order. So we're just going to do a few more. Next one I'm going to look at is this one here. So not too dissimilar to the one we've just done. So you could almost try it yourself if you'd like. We've got v equals 3a squared b, and we're changing the subject to a. So we're looking at where a is right now. It's on the right-hand side of the formula. So actually I want it on the left-hand side. Because it's on the numerator, it's not on the denominator for a fraction. I'm just going to do that common sense line, switch it over. 3a squared b equals b. So I now want to start getting a by itself. Right now a is being multiplied by 3 and b. So I'm just doing, in one swip, I'm just going to divide both sides by 3b. Divide that side by 3b, divide that side by 3b. So here, we've cancelled that out to just get a squared left. And on this side, we've got v divided by 3b. Almost there, a squared equals v over 3b. So to get a by itself, we have to square root it. And if you do that, you have to square root the entire other side. So a equals square root of v over 3b. All right, let's do another example. So this one here, t equals 2 pi square root m over k. Let's just write that down. T equals 2 pi square root of m over k, and we're changing the subject to k. All right, now you might have heard me say in the last two, right, where is k right now? Because k is on the denominator, I'm going to just leave it in this fraction here. I'm going to leave it on the right-hand side for now. And you'll see why in just a moment. So we are going to just start peeling things away from k, and then we'll have our solution. So we don't want this 2 pi right now. We've got the square root of this, but the square root of m over k is being multiplied by 2 pi. So I think first I'm going to divide by 2 pi on both sides so that those cancel, and I have t over 2 pi equals the square root of m over k. So next thing I want to do is get rid of this square root that's surrounding the m over k. So I'm going to square both sides. So I've got t over 2 pi all squared equals m over k. Right, so the easiest thing now to get rid of this, to change this k and bring it up to the numerator where we want, is to actually multiply both sides by k. I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I multiply this side by k, and multiply this side by k, that k and divided by k means it's no longer on this side. They've gone. Multiply by k here, we've got k t over 2 pi squared equals m. And then we've just got one more thing to do. Divide by all of this on each side. So before I do that, I'm actually just going to square each thing here so that I've got k times t squared over 4 pi squared. So I've just squared everything in that fraction. So I've got this one here. This one is probably a slightly trickier changing the subject. So I need to divide by this on both sides so that we get rid of this. So k equals m, I'm just going to write this out in full first, m divided by t squared over 4 pi squared. Now, as you know, when you divide by a fraction, you have to flip the fraction and change it to multiply. And so the last thing we've got is k equals, we're going to have 4 times m pi squared. I'll just put that m into the numerator there, over t squared. And that should change the subject to k. That probably is one of your trickier changing the subject questions. So I'll go back and try another one. We've got f equals 9 over 5 c plus 32. And we're changing the subject to c. Right, where's c right now? It's on the right hand side, but it's not on the bottom of the denominator of a fraction, so I'm just going to do that common sense line like we did before. 9 over 5 c plus 32 equals f. So the furthest away thing from the c right now is probably that plus 32. Apart from the f, we're just looking at this side. So I'm going to take 32 away from each side. So we have 9 over 5c equals f minus 32. Now there's two different ways you can deal with this fraction. You can deal with it each one bit at a time, or you can do the whole thing. You could divide by 5 over 9. I'm just going to do each one separately, just so you can see what I'm doing. So to get rid of this divide by 5, I'm going to multiply by 5 on both sides. So multiply by 5 on that side, you've just got 9c left, and you'll have 5 multiplied, and just be careful because it's multiplied by the entire thing. Then to get c by itself, you divide by 9 on both sides. So we have c equals 5 f minus 32 over 9. Right, I'm going to do one more example, and it's just to help you see all the different processes we could do to change the subject, and then you can try some yourself. Okay, so this one is m equals k squared plus 2 over ab, and we're changing the subject to k. So k right now is on the right hand side, but it's on the numerator of the fraction. I'm going to just switch and do that common sense line. K squared plus 2 over ab equals m. So k squared plus 2 all divided by ab, so we're going to get rid of that ab first. So multiply by ab on both sides. We've got k squared plus 2 equals abm on this side. You're going to take away 2 from both sides now, because we've got k squared plus 2. Take away 2. K squared equals abm minus 2. K equals the square root, because we're square rooting each side of abm minus 2. And that's you. That's some examples of changing the subject. You can now try some on your own.